All right, good afternoon, everybody. Once again, welcome to the e-learning platform for the organization. Today, the topic that I'm going to run is a very, very important topic because this is something that we're supposed to get into when we talk about sales and marketing, right? That is the telesales, the telemarketing. How do we go about talking to people, interacting with people on day-to-day basis? We're going to talk to a lot of people, right, on a day-to-day basis. Probably, sometimes 50, 60 different conversations you're going to do with a lot of people, right? Now, how does a prospective person, a customer becomes a buyer to to your client and the client probably you're representing? So these are certain key pointers that I've already noted down over here. And you just need to take it as a note to yourself as well, because people who have really become successful with our business are the people who are playing these master strokes, right? So the topic for the day is master strokes for telesales, how you become good with something that we're doing right now. So point number one is sounding very, very different. What do you mean by sounding different? See, what happens is when you're doing a call to an individual, to somebody, and sometimes there are a lot of calls that might be coming down to you as well. Now, what makes your introduction, what makes your sound a little different from anybody else, right? Is what's called sounding differently. So, for example, if I'm doing a normal telecalling, a normal call to somebody, my introduction might be, if I'm a very average performer, my introduction is going to be hello, hi, how are you? I'm, calling on behalf of XYZ organization or probably client. And, and he might be receiving, the customer receives on an average 4 to 5 calls in a day, right? That's quite a lot. And obviously not everybody is going to pick up. Like if you talk about me, I rarely pick up those unknown numbers. And sometimes I do as well. So when I'm picking those unknown numbers, I really want to listen to somebody who's a little more enthusiastic, a little more excited. Probably that's when I'm going to hold myself on the call. Otherwise, I have a red button on my cell phone, I'm going to hang the call. So sounding differently means you've got to be sounding very, very enthusiastic when you're introducing yourself, right? Do not sound like any other telecaller. Do not sound like any other marketer, because that's going to reduce your response rate as well. That's the point number one, and the most important point as well. That's called sounding differently. The next point is telling sales, guys, is a number game. It is a momentum game. A lot of times I am training, of people on a day-to-day basis. And what I realize is people want results very quickly. Now, honestly, you cannot derive results quickly. This is a very different ball game altogether. It's an absolute number game. The law of average is going to work for you, right? If you go out and probably do 150 calls, you go out and introduce yourself, right, to 150 people in a day, that's when probably you'll be able to go out and in ratio proportion, probably you'll be able to go out and present yourself to almost 40 people. Out of these 40, probably 3 to 4 people might just buy from you. That's called law of averages. It's more of a number game. But the challenge that we found, in people while training is they all want, everybody wants result. As soon as they start doing calls, as soon as they start doing anything, everybody wants result. My solution to them is, guys, in telesales, in telemarketing, right? You cannot really sit down and convince the customer. It's completely dependent on the person, right? It's better that you just keep playing your numbers. You just keep dialing in as many numbers as possible and let the law of averages do its work. You understand? Most of the time, why people fail in this business is because they start expecting from the person that they're talking to that he or she is going to buy straight away. That's not going to be possible. The only possibility happens with telesales. If you want to get a success by the end of the day, you want to sign up a customer for yourself, you want to sign up, n number of people. It's all dependent on how many people you're going to call up. Do you understand? How many people are you going to introduce yourself to? How many presentations? So over a period of time, you'll start seeing, the ratio getting in front of you. So the ratio lies between, let's say, 150 calls, 40 presentations. When I say presentations, means till the end, saying hi, how are you? I'm calling on behalf of XYZ company or organization does not mean there's a presentation done. A presentation means you have put a close across, you have gone out and told him, this is what we're looking out for, sir. I really love to, and tackling those objections and tackling those negatives of our customers is what for me is called one presentation. And the more number of presentations that you're going to give, the chances of you going, to do a sale automatically increases. That's the number game. Also, it's a momentum game. A lot of times what I see is people getting really satisfied because they have limited targets, they have small little goals. So they're like, okay, my goal for the day is probably signing up 2 customers a day or 3 customers a day, and they do it, in a flash by, let's say, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Now, guys, you need to understand, if you can capitalize the day which is going great for you, automatically your monthly sales, your weekly sales going to increase. It's more of a momentum game, right? It happens in a flurry, one after the other, because that day you're feeling very positive and things are going out rolling for you. That's called momentum game. So telesales is always sales for me is always a momentum game. When you are in absolute positive thought process, when you're absolutely positive, that's when the sale is going to happen. And once you have cracked the first deal of the day, after that, you shouldn't stop. You should rather take it on from there and try maximizing that day. Take it to 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, probably 10 as well, as much as possible. Again, it all depends on what is your individual potential and how much do you really want to do from your side. So that's point number 2. It's a number game. Do not try converting and convincing too many people. It is just going to happen automatically if in case you just go out and follow these basic steps. That's law of averages, 150 people, 40 presentations, 3 to 4 signups on a day-to-day basis, right? And that's going to make your sales task very, very easy, very, and then you don't even feel it very difficult, because, when does a new person, or when does a person become frustrated in sales, is because when he's trying too hard to convince people, right? For me, I never believed in convincing. My belief was, if I can go out and present myself to so many people on a day-to-day basis, I know there'll be somebody who will be willing to buy from me. That's how easy it is, because I do not need to convince somebody. If let's say I want to buy this suit, right, and the suit guy comes behind me, so please buy, probably I'm not interested. But if I really want to buy, then I'll just go check out 10, 15 suits and I'll probably buy this one, right? That's how simple it is. So nobody needs to convince. In sales, there's no convincing. Sales is all about numbers. If you can go out, achieve your numbers, every no takes you closer to a yes. The more number of no's that you're going to see, you will eventually find your yes. But do not get frustrated, guys, if the people not picking up your call, if they're not responding. That's how normal sales days are. There will be some days might be great, but most of the days, what I've realized doing sales myself, it is going to be just the same, where just keep calling. You'll find a lot of people picking up your calls, a lot of people talking to you, some of them not really interested, some of them really interested, giving you those signals where they're interested in buying, and very, very, very few people are actually going to sign up with you as well. So do not get frustrated. These 2, 3 guys, these 3, 4 people are going to make your day out as well. Okay, point number 3, don't be too pushy. And this is something that makes, our business, us, very different from all the other sales and marketing business. Because when you look at a company, doing, like, for example, any network, let's say Vodafone or Airtel, there's so many different networks, and people from there, they're trying to sell SIM cards and insurance policies and trade cards and I don't know what all services, right? Usually what tend to happen is, because they have targets, because they have pressure, what happens, they start pressurizing the customer on the other side of the call. Now, you as a person, ask yourself, how would you feel if somebody pushes you, to get to probably do a sale? I'm sure you wouldn't like it. If somebody comes and tells me, mind to go out and buy this tie or go out and buy this suit or something, and somebody is pushing me, no, you have to buy, so you have to buy. I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to like it. So even if I sign up, it's probably a very temporary sign. Do you understand? Second is, when you're too pushy, people don't really like it. And with telesales, the advantage is, they have the red color button on their cell phone, they're straight away going to hang the call, right? So if somebody is like, listen, I'm really busy right now, can you just call me back later? I'll be like, yeah, sure, no problem. I completely understand your concerns, sir. Will be a good time I can come back to you, right? Maintain your database, maintain your territory, maintain your, the planning sheet very, very effectively. Write down all the names of the people that you're supposed to call up, because these people might just become your possible customers, your possible, signups in the near future, right? Don't be too pushy. That's point number 3, right? Now, starting up with the introduction aspect, because that's how we begin our presentation. Having a very, very catchy introduction. Now, when I say catchy, does not mean you have to become very creative, right? With the presentation, with the introduction, right? You just have to understand catchy means you've got to sound different. The tone of voice makes all the difference. What do you mean by tone of voice? There's so many calls that comes on a day-to-day basis, right? Now, when you're doing a call, when you're doing an introduction to XYZ, any individual, if I call you up and like, hey, hi, how are you doing? This is Mayank. I'm calling on behalf of XYZ company. I'd like to talk to you for 2 minutes, right? If I introduce with a lot of poise, I'm very confident, I'm very smooth with my presentation, I'm very clear with what I'm speaking, right? It automatically gives them a very catchy introduction. 90% of the people who pick up my call, they do actually get converted into a presentation, and because number of presentation is going to give you a sale, right? That's the reason I've always been a sales high roller, sales performer. Why? Because most of my introductions actually turn around into a presentation. A lot of times what I see in a lot of new people is their introduction, they do a lot of hard work, they're doing a lot of calls, they're putting in their efforts, but the introduction's very dull. It makes them sound like the same some other company's telecaller, and which nobody likes it. So for me, it was very, very easy. Why? Because I understood that the person on the other call, on the other side, if in case, let's say I am on the other side, and somebody who's going to call me up with an enthusiastic tone of voice, with a very pleasant, a very charming tone of voice, right? Because he definitely cannot see me. So I'm like, hey, hi, how are we doing, Mayank? I'd love to talk to you for 2 minutes. I'm actually doing a campaign on behalf of XYZ. And if in case you can just have a word with me for 2 minutes, can I borrow your 2 minutes, right? Even if the person is really busy, he's like, yeah, I'd love to give 2 minutes to you, right? Because that's not a big time and everybody can save. But why should he give you those 2 minutes? It all depends on, how catchy your introduction is going to be, how attractive your introduction is going to be and remember, when you're doing 150 calls, at times this becomes a very monotonous job, becomes a very, very boring job, and that's something that you have to avoid. To avoid monotony, take breaks at regular interval, but keep your energy level up, stay enthusiastic throughout the day, because that's going to help you have such kind of introduction. Understand the person on the other side of the call doesn't know that you have already done 100 calls. He doesn't know. He might be listening to you for the first time, and he might be a possible customer to you as well. But just because you are feeling a little lethargic, just because you are feeling a little bored, you might just lose out on a prospective customer, right? So for me, the secret has always been giving more presentation. You can actually go out and give more presentation when you have a very catchy introduction, a very, very enthusiastic introduction. Then is the more, again, a very important point, that's called following the structure of the day. Whenever I have gone out and made my day really, really successful, a lot of sale I've done, believe me, guys, I've never done without preparation. If you are not prepared with the structure, if you don't know at what point of time, what are you going to do, there are very high chances you land up having a very, very unproductive day. When I talk about the structure for telesales, in my company, what I do is basically, I've divided the entire day into like 6, 7 parts, wherein there'll be a lunch break, there'll be a tea break, you can have a 10, 15 minutes of just a chill down session, right? But apart from that, every 1 hour when you're sitting, your goal is to go out and give at least 6 to 7 different presentations. Now, when I say presentation means starting from the introduction to the close, tackling objections. Presentation does not mean saying, hi, how are you? I'm calling on behalf of XYZ. No, right? For me, presentation means completing a presentation, saying the close. I would love if you can take up an initiative. I'd love if you can sign up. The person says, no, I'm not interested, or I completely understand, but this is something really good for you. And I guess, for the society, whatever it is, I mean, whatever the product it is, the objection handling is important, but till time you do not reach up to the close, I do not call it a presentation. And presenting at least 5 to 6 people, 7 people in an hour is quite easily possible, but then you have to stay focused. You have to sit down and work. So for me, how do I follow my structure is by using something which is called a test and a measure card, which consists of columns like number of calls. There is a column which is called number of calls, that how many calls did you do, and how many, I would say, number of presentations that you give. This helps me track my day. This is something that's going to help me track my day as to how many presentations, how many calls have I done, this particular hour. So I will actually sit down and set my hourly targets for my own self, not for somebody else. Because if I want to achieve this, it cannot be achieved. It's like, chasing a very massive total in cricket. So if you want to chase, let's say 304, 350 runs, it is going to be, what's my strategy going to be in the first 10 overs, right? What's in the power play? What is in the second 10 overs? How about the second power play? Where do I want to be? Where at the end of 25th over, how many wickets I can afford to lose? You understand how many runs should I make? Because it's all strategized. If you do not strategize your entire chase, then the chances are that you might land up becoming frustrated because you're looking up, or probably you might just get pressurized looking at such a huge total. You understand? And you might just have the potential as well, but at the same time, you'll not be able to chase a massive target. And so many times with, our country or team India, it has happened in cricket as well. I have seen, the same team which can go out and make very easily without even fall of a wicket, they can go out and do 200, 300 runs, right? The same teams, when they're chasing 350, 300, 320 odd runs, they actually, tumble down to 100, 150, 200 runs. It's because of lack of structure, the lack of preparation, the lack of strategizing. So structure means basically strategizing, and structure also means how many calls you're doing per hour, how many presentations you're going to do. If you're able to track this, right, you'll definitely be able to control the inputs, and your inputs are going to give you the desired output. That's what I believe in. So if you want, end of the day, you want 2 to 3 customers or 2 to 3 signups, quite easily possible. You just need to control the input, right? Have the structure of the day. But if you don't have the structure, what's going to happen? You might just lose out, on a very, very productive day as well, which I don't really want you guys to have, right? The next point is after the introduction starts, right? You have the structure, you've given out the introduction, and the person is willing to listen to you. He's like, okay, I am ready to give my 2 minutes. Now you've got to make the most out of those 2 minutes. You have to use these 2 minutes as effectively as possible. And I'll tell you how to do it by having a very impulsive short story, right? So there's a sales process that comprises of an introduction, then there's a short story, then there's a presentation, then there's a close, and then there's a rehash, right? What do you mean by impulsive short story? It means you go about painting the pictures of, what is the pain, what is the need, generating the need of the customer, what is the real problem that your product is going to assist, right? Once you're able to, and when you're talking about the problem, for example, let's say I'm talking about a marker, I'm talking about, anything, the problem is something that you're supposed to speak with a very soft tone of voice. When you're talking about a problem in the society, when you're talking about any mishappening, you'll never see somebody talking in a very enthusiastic tone of voice. You talk actually in a very sad tone of voice. What this happened, with one of my friends, actually his uncle died. And so whenever you're talking about something which is sad, something where there's a problem, he got cancer, he got this, there's a major accident on the roadside. I saw somebody, falling down on the bike, and there's blood all around. And it was, when you're talking about all these negative things, it's actually something which is, a person which is in pain, right? And to represent the pain of a person or pain of XYZ anything, the tone of voice that you use is actually very, very soft. Do you understand? Even though the person is not able to see you, right? Because he is over the call. But guess what? He is absolutely able to, he's going to feel you, and the feeling can be transferred through the tone of voice. And a lot of times what happens is people have a very flat tone of voice. They speak because they're doing it as a job. Now, we have the script. The script is ready. But guys, a good actor is somebody who knows how to deliver the script. Do you understand? A high paid actor is somebody who knows how to deliver that dialogue, and you have to, if you want to become a high paid actor in our industry, you need to be the same. You need to go out and learn how to vary your tone of voice, how well you can vary. There's got to be a lot of variations when you're talking about the problem that your product is going to assess, or support, right? You need to talk a little softly. As soon as you talk about the solutions, right? that, oh, this is, and then then the van came in and we rushed him to the hospital. Guess what? He's all safe. I'm just giving the same example, right? What happens? As soon as we're talking about the solutions got to be with a very enthusiastic, very excited, a high tone of voice. I know people are not going to see you over the call, but as I said, the people can easily feel you. So while I'm talking to you, if you turn the cam off and you still listen to me, you can still feel what I'm talking about. And that's something important when it comes to sales. You are supposed to transmit the feeling, until and unless the person, impulsive short story, basically we give because we want to see, or we want the person to start relating to what we are trying to sell. Until unless the person is not going to relate, he's not going to starting to feel something that happened to his own self. A small little cut gives him a more pain than somebody far off land dying, and thousands and lakhs of people die out of, there's a pandemic that happened, coronavirus, right? In our country and across the globe, there's so many people died. But if nothing happened to you, you'll not be able to understand the pain. That's what I'm talking about. Impulsive short story. Person has to feel, the impulse has to be generated, because a lot of times, I would say 90% of the people buy out of impulse. They're not going to buy because the product is good. How many times that happened with you as well? You went into a shopping mall. You didn't want to buy anything. You just entered the mall. You liked something. The person said, this is the last piece. This is something really good. And we have an offer going on. And you're like, okay, just pack it. You understand? I really want to buy it. Again, it's all a part of short story, and in our business, we also call it gift. Gift stands for greed, indifference, fear of loss, tone of voice, the sheep factor. This is a new concept. In next few videos, I'll be coming up with that as well. How to deliver a great impulsive short story, but your short story has to be very, very impulsive, right? That is your secret to the next step. That is the presentation, where you start demanding, you start putting the desire across, that what do I really want, out of you? Why am I calling you? So now the next thing is catching the buying signs. Now, a lot of times you have to understand that the person who's interested will be the person listening to you, right? He is the person, because he's not seeing you. He hasn't even met you ever in his life, right? Then why is he giving you time? Because probably he is interested. If he wouldn't be interested, he would definitely hand the call just towards your introduction. That means a person who is listening to you carefully, he is agreeing to the pointers that you're talking about. He is saying everything, whatever as a question you are asking. Let's say you ask a certain question, do you think this is going to happen, sir? Or it's not going to happen. Like, oh, I guess this is going to happen. And it's a positive answer for you. That's called buying signal. Guys, do not wait for the close across. You understand? Because if you see a person giving buying signal, what do you mean by buying signal? A person who's interested unknowingly starts giving certain signals. You've got to be the antenna. The radar is already there. He's going to emit certain signals. If you're not ready to catch it, you might lose out a possible sale for yourself. And that's what a lot of people, especially new people, who are very, very new to the industry, they're not able to identify these buying signals. And people who become really experienced, people who are old in the business, they have done a lot of sales, they unknowingly, start intercepting these signals. They start accepting these signals. They start understanding these signals. And that is the reason why old people, who spend a little time, if you start spending a little time with the industry, you will also start understanding the buying signs. But why to wait to spend time? You understand? Just start understanding. Buying signal means somebody who's interested is going to listen to you. If he's listening to you, he's questioning you, he's agreeing to your questions, the chances are he's going to buy straight away. Do you understand? So do not wait to put across a close. That's my next point, right? That's called confident and aggressive closing. That's something really, really, really important. Why do you need an aggressive close? What do you mean by an aggressive close? Aggressive does not mean pushy, but aggressive means very, very assertive. Closing means you have assumed that a sale is already done. And after that, the questions that you ask, they're called closing questions, right? The presumption is already there. I have given you a great short story. I have a great product. I am giving you a product which is solving a problem, your problem, the problem of the world, right? If my product is solving a problem, I'm sure you're interested because you've shown the buying signs, and now I want you to buy, right? And the questions that I'm going to put across, they're called aggressive closing questions, right? Be confident because you're about to demand something. A lot of times people get scared out of demanding. And closing means the sale, guys. Before closing, everything is an advertisement. You do not get paid for ads. Do you understand? You do not get paid for calling people up. You do not get paid for, telling people what your organization, what your company does. Do you understand? You get paid for closing a deal. So if you want to at all become good with sales, this is your word. Confidence and aggressive closes. If you're not able to close a deal, you'll try, frustrate, go out. You understand? Closing means you have to tell him, so this is what I'm looking out for. Be authoritative. Stay in command. Tell him what do you want him to do. For example, if I'm there, I'm like, listen, I want you to put your phone on loudspeaker and just open up. I've already sent the link onto your cell phone. That's how commanding I'm going to be. And if I am commanding, and if I'm hesitant, I'm like, sir, if I can request you to please open up your SMS gallery, I've sent you a link. He's like, listen, I'll see the link and I'll buy, and I'll see to it and I'll think about it. But if you're giving him a command, so what I want you to do is just put your phone loudspeaker and open up your SMS gallery. I've already sent you I've already sent you a link. Already sent you an email. You can just put my phone on loudspeaker. I can guide you through the process of making the payment done, right? If you do not aggressively talk about it, if you do not command, guys, you're going to land up becoming frustrated because everybody that you're like, oh, I'm giving such a great short story, right? I'm putting so much of effort, but nobody buys from you. You don't sell because you do not close the person. Always be closing A, B, C. That's the rule of the closing. Close the session's already done or it's going to come up, in the next few sessions for you guys. See to it that you use all the direct closes, the indirect closes, using the woodpecker churring, tuck, 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 tuck. You have to constantly keep hitting. Do not just ask, demand, command, ask. When you ask, you'll get it. Next point is rehashing. Once the person gets closed, or let's say even if he doesn't get closed, most of the time, a lot of sales people, miss out on this fifth step, of the 5 step of sale or understanding what do you mean by rehash. If the person is getting closed, right, don't forget to increase the demand, right? Because he's already a closed person. If he is willing to buy, something, for example, if he's willing to buy these 2 markers, right? He also is a possible customer to buy a 3rd marker as well. How do I make it in a package and sell 3 instead of 2? That's called rehashing. Do you understand? How do you rehash? How do you increase your amount? Or probably how do you increase the chances of sale? So there are 2 ways by which you can actually increase it. One is by increasing the numbers, of what you're selling, your product, and give him a good deal. Or probably you can also ask for a lot of references. That's an indirect sale as well. So for example, if I have bought something and and Ankit is my good friend, and I'm like, okay, I'm giving you a reference of Ankit, and just go and buy, just tell him my name, right? And tell him that I've already done it, I've already bought it. The very high chance that he's going to buy it as well, right? That's how sales happens. And if in case you're missing out on these references, guys, you're missing out on a very, very, very heavy chunk of sales as well. But very importantly, even if the person has become a customer to you or he hasn't become a customer to you, you need to understand that leave the person on a very, very happy, on a very positive note. I, in my life, have never left somebody unhappy, because one unhappy customer will give my organization, will give my client a lot of, bad words, or probably a word of mouth publicity is going to be very, very negative, because somebody who's unhappy really wants to go out and really wants to go out and probably speak to 10 people that this company didn't do well, this company treated me like shit, and whatever it is. Sorry for the slang that I'm using, right? So this is what it is all about. And the last point is secret to telesales is following up. That's your secret, right? If at all you want to become successful with telemarketing, telesales, you need to learn the art of following up, right? A lot of times, I would say 90% of the times, my sale will happen in the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 4th call. It is not going to happen on the 1st call. On the 1st call, the percentage is just 10%. And there's a massive research which is already completed that on the first call, first point of contact, you called up somebody, and very rare chances, just 10% chances that you will be able to close a deal on the first go, right? The 50% people, so this is when I say person means if you're somebody who's closing 100 customers in a month, right? Or a company closes 100 customers in a month, out of that, only 10 customers are going to buy on the first call. Like they're really interested. Those are people with law of averages, right? They straight away get interested. The next 50 customers are going to buy it from you in the first follow up. That means let's say somebody gave me a call and I'm like, listen, I'm really busy right now. Your product is good. Can you call me back? Right? And then I forget. And obviously I'll forget because I have so much of work to do, right? After some time, if I have said, give me a call by 6 o'clock in the evening, it is the person's responsibility to give me a call at 6 o'clock in the evening, reminding me that I promised a sale to him. Do you understand? Don't feel shy. Don't feel bad about it. It's your job. This is something that you're supposed to do, right? If you're not doing it, you are losing out almost 50% of the sale. If your chances of you selling on the first follow-up or the second point of contact, the second call is almost 50%. Don't lose out on this. The next is, the next 30% gets closed on the second call follow-up or the third call that goes to the customer. 30%, again, it's a very, very heavy percentage, right? So for example, the same person calls me and in the evening, let's say I just move out, going out, doing something. I'm like, oh, I'm extremely sorry. I was a little busy. Can you just call me back yet again? So, the person tells me, okay, what would be a good time I can call you back? Yeah, you can call me day after tomorrow, right? At around 10, 11, same time, right? Day after tomorrow, he calls me up. I'm in my office early in the morning, right? All excited. And the person calls me up. One thing that I really like about the person is the sincerity, the punctuality. That's something that is always liked by a lot of people. Gentle people will always like sincere people, right? If somebody comes and I've already committed, I've already promised, there are very high chances that I'm going to sign up with the person, not the second time, but probably the third time. Now, after third time as well, there's a chance of almost 10% people who are going to buy from you, 10%, right? That means on the fourth follow-up. Now, a lot of times, people fail to do this 90%. When are you going to get frustrated? Because you're just looking at your 10% ratio, right? And going, why am I not able to do a sale, right? You'll be able to do a sale. There's not a problem, but you need to understand the concept. You need to understand the game. The game is following up. Telesales is all about following up. How many people, there's so many people who actually told me, after I gave them call after 2 days or after 3 days, whenever they asked me to. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. Mayank, can you give me some time? I'll just look at it and I'll get back to you. And obviously they are not going to get back to me. It is my job to get back to them. Do you understand? It is your job to get back to them. If somebody tells you, listen, can you give me a call at 9:30 in the night? Again, it's your job. It's your business. You have to go out and succeed at it. So my goal is to go out and call him at least 3 to 4 times, because I know if there's 100 sale happening, right, out of that, I need to possibly target all the 100. I cannot even miss out on one, right? And the way it is going to happen is by following up. And the secret to sales, right, and especially telesales, is following up. First point contact, only 10%, right? First hand deals, only 10%. 90% happens on follow-ups. Most of you guys, when you do not follow up, you're actually leaving the same customer for somebody else, because if you don't follow up and he gets the second call from somebody else, there are very high chances that the other person is going to close the deal on his first call, which you don't really want, because the person is already aware about what you are selling, what your company is selling. Right? These are the master strokes for telesales. In case, right, you just follow these pointers, whatever I have mentioned it to you, whatever I have let you know till now, right? Guess what? Right? You all can go out and become a sales master, a sales monster. And believe me, telesales is, I guess, by far the easiest form of sales. in the world, every company does it. Most of the companies are, with the digital coming up and online things coming up, people are actually shifting towards more social media and everything. But this still stays by far the oldest form of sales as well, guys. On this note, thank you so much. See to it that you're using these pointers and becoming a sales master. All the best, guys. Have a killer day ahead and have a great sales journey with you. Happy selling. Thank you so much.